Chair recognizes the gentleman from McGoffin, 92.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speak on the bill, and then in a moment I'll have a question.
Yes, sir. You may proceed.
I understand and appreciate all the hard work that has went into this piece of legislation by the gentleman from Rockcastle and yourself, Mr. Speaker, and all the other groups that's worked to bring this piece of legislation to where it is. But I still have reservations and concern. I think the floor amendment definitely was needed that we put on there. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about my concerns. In talking to my constituents, talking to members of this body, probably the number one phrase that I hear from this is, I don't know, I'm just a little bit reluctant. I'm a little bit scared. And we're scared of new technologies, right? Especially when we're talking about an unmanned vehicle driving down our highways. That's a George Jetson concept almost, right? But I want to talk about three particular concerns, the first being safety. I did travel with the Speaker and the gentleman from Wayne, and we went out to California and we saw several companies. We rode in a couple of these smaller vehicles. Did it ease a little bit of safety concern? Yes, I would say it eased a little bit of safety concern. But I still have concerns when we're talking about box trucks, 18-wheelers, traveling on our highways that's dependent on technology. Now, everyone in this body, I would imagine, has a cell phone. How many times do we have to reboot it because it crashes? How many times do we have to reboot our computers because they crash? And I know there's a safety mechanism in place for that. The vehicle would come to a slow down and pull over, stop. But what if there's not a shoulder on the road to pull over and stop? The next concern is, what if we go into a highway work zone, and I can understand they can see the road striping and they can maneuver through those on a normal basis, but what if there's a flagman out there? Are they going to be able to react to that flagman's stop sign? Can they read that stop sign that says stop? And then when he flips it around and it says slow, can they proceed then? Are they going to recognize that? What about first responders that are at accident scenes and they're directing traffic with their hands, or maybe a flashlight because it's at night? Are they going to recognize those things? Are they going to be able to safely stop, or are they going to proceed slowly on through, maybe into the scene of the accident? Maybe even destroying evidence, depending on the type of accident it is, right? And that's just a few of the concerns. And then talking to my friends in law enforcement, there's a concern about how that it could be used for interdiction purposes or lack thereof. You know, one of the most common carriers for bringing drugs from the border up to Kentucky is through hiding it in compartments in commercial vehicles and sending it up. Normally, you would have a driver that you can interrogate, try to get information, try to lead back to where these came from, try to get not only the drugs off the street, but the perpetrators who are putting these on our street. Now we're not going to have that driver in these vehicles. And third is the workforce. Now, we hear about the shortage of truck drivers. I think every industry right now has got shortages. It's not just one industry that's got shortages. But nevertheless, the company tells us that for every job we lose, that it would create 5 jobs. So, in with that, I would ask if the gentleman would yield to a question, Mr. Speaker.
He will yield.
Mr. Gentleman from Rockcastle, of these 5 jobs that will replace the one job we lose here in Kentucky, will those 5 jobs be here in Kentucky, or are they going to be in California where this technology is being developed and it's being utilized and it's being pushed? And if so, how many of those jobs would be here in Kentucky?
Gentleman from Rockcastle.
Gentleman from McGoffin, I appreciate your concerns, and I don't think it would make good business sense to ship a car back to California to be worked on, to be reprogrammed, to have general maintenance performed. It wouldn't make good sense to have the engineers mapping, driving the roads from California. Of those 5 jobs, I can't tell you exactly how many would be in Kentucky because each company would have different business models. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all here. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the best I got.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Gentleman from McGoffin.
Thank you, gentlemen. There is no answer. It's an uncertainty.
You wish to speak on the bill, gentlemen?
May I continue, sir?
Yes, sir.
There is no certainty of how many of those 5 jobs we would get here, but then I got to scratch my head and wonder, is a mechanic making what a UPS driver is making? UPS, FedEx, DHLs, those are going to be your jobs lost, folks. Those are the people they're going to replace. Then I have to think about those people, if you come from Jefferson or Fayette especially, probably in northern Kentucky, I would imagine Bowling Green and the more urban areas. What about your Uber and Lyft drivers? They talked about they've already deployed 150 of these taxis in Phoenix that's operating. Uber and Lyft drivers are usually, that's a second job, sometimes third job for them to make extra money. They're going to be ones that's going to be out. So right now with 150 Uber and Lyft deployments in Phoenix, that's 150, of the autonomous taxis, that's 150 Uber and Lyft people that's not making an income from their jobs. So I have a concern about the impact on our workforce here in Kentucky. I'm afraid that we're going to not only lose jobs, we're going to lose them to California. And I don't know about the rest of y'all. I don't want to give nothing to California. But think about our tax revenues we're going to lose here. Think about families that's going to have to move away. Think about the economic impact. Yes, maybe this down the road in 20 years from now will have a turnaround positive for us. I don't know. There's just so many unknowns, and I don't understand the rush to move this thing through so quickly, so swiftly, that we can't take a look and try to answer and address some of these concerns of everyone before we move into something of such new technology that everybody uses the phrase is, I don't know, I'm just a little concerned, I'm reserved, I have reservations about this. That's all I have to say, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.